Hi everyone, good morning. We're here with Anina, Emma, and Isabel, and I'd just like to start by asking, firstly, Emma, perhaps you could introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I'm Emma Smith. I'm Head of Talent at Creative Assembly. I've been in the industry for nearly 13 years, unlucky for some, but very lucky for me. I look after recruitment, immigration and education outreach, and I spearhead a legacy project at Creative Assembly, which is helping underrepresented groups come into our industry, and really with a focus on getting young women into games. And I'm also a co-chair for our women's ERG group.
That's great. Thank you very much. And Isabel, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everybody. I'm Isabel Labonte. I'm the Head of Learning and Development at Creative Assembly. I haven't been with CA as long as Emma. I actually joined in 2019 after a very long career in the third sector. So the games industry is very new to me, but I'm absolutely loving my role. So I spend a lot of time just working with colleagues, just trying to source the right development for our high performing teams and just supporting our different groups. I work quite closely with Emma in terms of supporting our new members of the studio as they come in with their training and development needs, and also working really closely with our D&I network and the ERG, with just picking up on any support that we can give, whether that is external speakers or sorting out any related training. So really excited to be here with you this morning.
Thanks so much. That's wonderful. And Anina, can I ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Good morning. I'm Anina Melissa. I transitioned into the video game industry from the music industry in 2017, and I started at CA in 2019, and now I'm the senior audio QA lead.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you all very much for being here this morning with us. And our panel this morning is about possibly, we agreed, maybe the last taboo, the thing that we cannot talk about at work that actually is, as we have discussed briefly and with you, possibly the thing that really fills us with shame, something that possibly we might have inherited from early lives and past, attitudes and culture. So we're talking about women and why it's important. And Emma, if I could just start with you, COVID has brought a huge amount of change to all of our worlds. Why do you think, and in what ways perhaps has COVID revealed problems for women that are very specific to women? What do you feel? Why do you feel there might be a benefit in having a particular focus on women's health?
I think that the last 18 months has really helped us pull a focus into our own health and well-being holistically. But actually, women's health should have always been on the agenda. However, there have been more articles and more documentaries. And in fact, Davina called for the programme she did talking about the menopause and really bringing it into the forefront of conversations. But as women, we're starting to feel more empowered. When we talk about COVID as well, with the home working and flexible working, that's actually been really quite helpful for women that do have menstrual health conditions, or women who are going through perimenopause or menopause, where being able to work more flexibly with hours at home have been able to help us to all be more productive and have those conversations. But also there have been some difficulties around trying to juggle being a parent or a carer at home whilst you're trying to work as well. So whilst it's brought many benefits and opportunities to have that platform to talk about women's health, it's also presented some other challenges there today, but being able to speak about it more freely, particularly amongst other women and with other people that we work with, can start unpicking some of those difficulties and feel that as a woman you're not alone, you're not going through this on your own. You've got a whole wealth of a community around you helping and wanting to support you moving through some of those areas.
Fantastic. And Anina, if I'm to you, what's your personal experience of these issues? You had a great anecdote, actually, that it might be fun to share, which was a little bit about space, and we have got a spacey theme, but I thought it was really funny. Maybe you could share that. It's slightly off track, but I think it's really funny.
Well, I read this morning actually that NASA had sent a woman into space for 6 days, and they gave her 100 tampons, which is really funny because it kind of shows the disconnection between. I mean, these are rocket scientists, or at least scientists, and it kind of just shows the disconnection between what's really happening, what's the reality for women, what they need, and with how much insecurity it's maybe treated.
Yes, and it is funny, but at the same time, you describe it also as a simultaneous tragedy. But that there is the kind of lack of understanding there, which is kind of shocking. What's your personal experience at work like? Since COVID, how have things changed for you? And do you feel that this is a good time to open this discussion, as an especially beneficial time because of COVID might have changed our attitudes, as Emma was saying, to being able to talk about health and well-being?
I think any time would have been good, and I think there have been many changes over the past years, obviously, to make things better at work for women. But COVID has a few advantages that it is going to revolutionize the way that we work. It already has revolutionized in some ways, changed the way that we work, but it's going to do so even more in the future. And there are many advantages for women. One of them is that it allows for more flexibility. Working from home allows for more flexibility, so it's easier for women to juggle having a family and a career. It might be easier for women to get back into their job if they don't have to commute to work. There are just a lot of practical things that COVID has forced us all to accept, that previously we often talked about, but there weren't really any practical solutions being pushed for.
Even simple things like if you're having a hot flush and your clothes suddenly become, absolutely drenched in sweat, you're able to just quickly go and get a change of clothes and be comfortable and take a moment and be able to come back to your desk. That might not be practical when you're actually in the workplace, unless you've got a locker or a storage space to put spare clothing, and somewhere to make yourself feel comfortable again. Even practical things like that can be helpful at home. Even having access to sanitary products. Sometimes we're taken by surprise at the start of our cycle and we don't necessarily have everything with us in the workplace, or know who to go and speak to get some products. But some companies actually put them in the bathrooms. I know we have that at Creative Assembly, and I know that I've quite often been grateful for that being there. So some of those personal experiences.
Yes, to be able to have a company that is open about these things and just normalizes them. Isabel, I wanted to come to you. So you, as you were saying, an ERG. Could you explain, what that means and what its significance is for you at work? Why is it important to have that group? And there is a certain focus in that group on women's health, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So within our diversity and inclusion group, we have a number of ERGs, and they're just groups for our employees. So, and actually, it's Anina and Emma who have done a great job in setting up the women's ERG. And I think one of the things that personally I value as a woman within the studio is having that network. So, and I think as both Emma and Anina have explained, I think our situation at the moment has led quite naturally to us opening our homes and our colleagues seeing a different part of us. So I see the women's group actually as a really nice extension of that. So we come together, and I think for me it's about us developing that confidence to talk about some of those things that we wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable talking about in the workplace. And I suppose with my learning and development hat on, I feel that us having that confidence to talk amongst other women, and feeling like, you know, we have kindred spirits amongst us that we can open up to about our cycles, about, you know, those of us that are perimenopausal or menopausal. I think then that's kind of, you know, their steps towards us having that confidence to talk to, whether it is our leads or our other male colleagues. And in a way, that's where I really see my role in supporting that, just, you know, offering, whether it is coaching, whether it is assertiveness training. So I think it's been, for some of us, I think it's been a bit of a lifeline. And, you know, notwithstanding the fact that we've had lots of people join the studio remotely. So actually being able to access the women's group and other ERGs in this remote setting, I think just generally has been a really positive step.
That's great. And Emma, I know you have some very strong feelings about, you know, having the possibility for women to, and Anina too, to have this kind of ability to share information together. Do you think that it has a role in educating the culture of, you know, a wider culture, which includes men, so that we can kind of make this not the taboo that we've kind of started with? What do you feel?
Yes, absolutely. I think once we start building and continuing on that strong foundation of giving our women individually personal strength and fortitude and the resilience within themselves, then they will feel naturally more comfortable having those slightly more uncomfortable conversations, and making the onus on the person receiving it, saying, you know, this is what happens to me, this is what happens to my body. And I'm giving this information to you for you to help me, whether that's a male or a female, whether that's a lead or whether that's not, so that we can really help get the best out of each other. But also recognising that hormones is not just something that happens to us naturally as women. There are going to be people having hormone therapy as well, whether that's women having HRT or whether as our trans colleagues are going through that. And they will have actually quite similar physical experiences with their health. And for them to feel like they're a part of this bigger network is absolutely vital. Of course, I would love to see women's groups absolutely everywhere, but there is value in the strength to then go ahead and educate. And even some of the more difficult headlines that we've read earlier this year, and the women's marches and Reclaim These Streets. There have been a lot of education, not just around women's health, but around women's safety in general. So women come together and getting that passion and lighting that fire for us to have those conversations has been just transformational for some women.
Yeah.
And Anina,
we also, when we, I just wanted to add something to what Emma said, actually. When we started the ERG group, we actually considered, should this be an open space? But in the end, we decided together with the women in our company that we wanted this to be a safe space where women can freely express themselves and address things that they maybe don't want to address in front of everyone. The way that I like to think of it is like the oxygen masks that are, in the airplane when you get like the introduction, beginning of the flight, and you have to put on the oxygen mask for yourself first before you can help any other passengers. And that's the same way. We have to make sure that we look after ourselves first, that we build this foundation together first, that we know what we would like to address and build that change from the inside out. And then we can introduce it to the rest.
That's such an interesting analogy. Yeah, Isabel, sorry, go on.
Just a couple of things. So just from Emma's point about, the conversations and the women's marches, and I think it's an educational piece for us as well, because I think we experience different things as women, but then one of the things that I learned, so for example, with the Sarah Everard case and all of the discussions around that, lots of my male friends, families, colleagues actually started talking about the fact that they were unaware. They were, it really encouraged them to think about how women might feel when they are traveling on their own. Some of the things that we started talking about openly as a result of that tragic case, actually, they were educational. To say that, that literally you walk with your phone in your hand with your torch ready, or you hear footsteps. So there are lots of men that it just didn't occur to them. So I think, in terms of opening up and talking it out of something so tragic, it's making some improvements. And I think, just in relation to what Anina was saying, that's absolutely, going back to my point before, us having that safety, if you like, within the women's group, it kind of emboldens us to take those conversations outside as well. So I think that's why it's a really great opportunity for us to have that forum.
That's wonderful. And Emma, is that how you see things developing in the future, that this is perhaps a stepping stone to more openness?
Yeah, stepping stone to women really reclaiming their own power within themselves, and being able to have those conversations about their health, their safety, and their careers, and being able to be, help their leads, educate their leads, but also to be exceptional leaders themselves, and really go forward as a great example of what good looks like. And there are simple things that as an industry we can all do, and it is create those safe places. And there will be people in studios and other games companies that will be so passionate and will want to do this. And if you give them the room to do their thing, then they will make it happen for you, and they can help educate the leaders if it's not the leaders themselves.
That's so interesting. And we come back to education, Anina, and do you feel that this is a kind of direction that you'd recommend now that you've kind of put the ERG in place and you've been experiencing the benefits of having it, which you've described so eloquently? Do you think that this is something you'd recommend then to, as Emma is saying, to other studios to really put forward as a way of creating a kind of non-taboo culture around health?
Absolutely. And I think it just makes it easier to look at really practical solutions as well. So we're not only like talking about mindsets and different approaches, we're also really practical, trying to get, have more education about pension, have more education about the gender pay gap, or looking at our own facilities in the studio, like how can we make things better? What is there for breastfeeding employees? Just looking at really practical things that women need so that we don't have to tiptoe around certain subjects anymore.
Wonderful, yes. And perhaps we're kind of seeing health in a much broader perspective then in that case, that there are many more aspects of health and wellness that are not just a kind of medical issue, but they are a sort of well-being issue. Isabel, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, I think very often as women, we have the tendency to feel that we're less, or that we're failing, if we have excruciating cramps, or, if we do suffer from conditions that mean that our periods are really, really heavy, or if we are going through the menopause. But, these are things that, this is what happens as a woman. So I think it's exactly,
yes,
it's life. And
yes.
I think if we can encourage that.
Yes, no,
That
that's
sense
wonderful.
that we shouldn't feel less, or that we shouldn't feel that we need to hide or be embarrassed.
No,
then
absolutely.
That's nothing but a great thing.
It's such a big subject, and my alarm has just gone off and told me that actually we've of course run out of time. But I'm so grateful to all three of you, and we've started a conversation here, which I think it would be wonderful for us to continue. So thank you, everybody in the audience, for engaging with us. And thank you, all three of you, for the conversation, which is so valuable. And we hope you have enjoyed it. And we look forward to the other sections of the conference that are coming up. So thank you, everybody.